One scrawl on a utility bill. Everything tilts. Julia Carter stands in her New York kitchen, Monday light cutting in thin bars through the blinds. A coffee mug bumps the counter, rings the air, settles. The refrigerator hums. Somewhere on the street, a siren fades. She doesn't speak. She breathes once, slow, and smooths the note with 2 steady fingers. I'm done with you. I'm taking everything. The apartment is sold. Mark Carter, 38. Her shoulders square, chin lifts. The tiniest twitch touches her mouth, not a smile, alignment. She presses the paper flat, then the corner of the electric bill that rides under it. Ink digs through both pages, impatient, careless. She wipes a pale crescent of ceramic dust from the quartz, turns the faucet on, off, sets the mug upright again, handle at 2 o'clock. The air is cool, early fall. The wall calendar shows a week striped with orders and deliveries. The studio half of the living room glints, a silver burnisher, a matte hammer, a fine jaw plier placed like instruments before an opening chord. She takes her phone. 4 words, no flourish. Saw your note. Noted. Send. Silent mode clicks on. The screen goes dark, and with it the last tremor in her hands. On the table, a craft folder shows its tab by a hair. Reefy. Home. She doesn't pull it out. Not yet. She slides it inward with a knuckle, as if tucking in a child's blanket. Metal clasps whisper. A photograph on the fridge catches the light. Julia at 35, black apron, a torch bright as a star. She lifts the magnet, pockets the photo, leaves the wedding save the date pinned where it is. A footprint from an older life. Mini hook. The apartment. Mark believes it's already gone. Her gaze meets the window's reflection. A woman centered, still, composed as a level bubble. She sets the torch's cap tighter, lowers the bench pin cover, and closes the velvet tray that holds a half-finished pendant. No speeches, only small, exact movements that say everything. Outside, a bus exhales. Upstairs, a neighbor laughs into a phone. Inside, the room returns to silence that belongs to her. This is how some family revenge stories begin. Not with shouting, but with posture, paperwork, and the quiet click of a plan choosing its hour. She reaches for the keys, twists the deadbolt, and pauses long enough to place the note back on the bill, squared to the edge. If you want the next move, subscribe and stay with her on this channel. 6 months before the note, the trail began, quiet, regular, polite. New York in late spring. Julia Carter stands under the bank's fluorescence, fingers steady on a stack of statements. A ballpoint circles a figure, then another. Same payee, same amount, Fridays, 4:12 p.m. She folds the page, slides it into a plastic sleeve, and clips the spine shut. No comment. Only the soft click of metal teeth. 3 months before, 10:47 at night. Outside Mark's office tower, the lobby is dark. A security guard shakes his head and taps the sign. Building closed after 9. Julia photographs the hours, the empty reception, the reflection of her phone in the glass. 1 flash, a second from the meter. She pockets the time-stamped stubs. A birthday, 2 months before. Mark presents a silk box tied too tight. Inside, a sterling bracelet the color of dull rainwater. Julia pulls on nitrile gloves, rubs a test patch with a polishing cloth, turns the clasp under a loop, flaking. She drops the piece into a zip bag, prints a label, sample, not sterling, and files it with invoices. 3 weeks before. On the balcony, Mark angles his shoulder away from the kitchen light and murmurs into a phone. Inside, his laptop lid lowers the moment Julia crosses the room. The screen winks black. The cursor's ghost vanishes. She adjusts a plant, wipes water from the sill, and says nothing. 2 weeks before. Megan notices things. Hotel soap on Mark's collar, a car rental slip jutting from his wallet. You two okay? She asks, neutral tone, eyes searching. Julia aligns a pastry box on the cafe table and nods once. Megan exhales, squeezes her elbow, and lets the subject drift. 10 days before. A boutique client meets Julia at the loading dock, admires the precision of a custom setting, and frowns toward the curb where Mark sits idling, jaw tight. He's impatient, the client observes. Julia signs the delivery, hands over a velvet tray, and steps back as the van door slides shut. 48 hours before the note, the bank calls to confirm a limit request Julia did not place. She writes the caller's name and time along the bill's edge, boxes the digits, and clips the slip under bills. Q4. The kitchen clock ticks, metronome slow. Mini hook. A Friday transfer, repeating. A payee with initials. The line of red circles begins to look like a map. These are not suspicions spoken aloud. They are marks on paper, timestamps, photographs. In family revenge stories worth believing, discipline turns doubt into proof. She caps the marker, closes the binder, and reaches for a fresh tab. Prep. Morning after the circles and red ink, the binder labeled Prep lands on the kitchen table at 8:02. Julia Carter flips it open. No speeches, just sequence. Step 1. Build a firewall. She walks to the bank, opens a new business account, routes all incoming invoices there, turns on two-factor for every profile. The clerk notes a change of mailing address. Julia signs, caps the pen, requests paper statements sent to a safe deposit box downtown. At home, a shoebox turns into an archive. She scans statements, the lobby photos, the birthday bracelet test, the bank call log. Each page receives a timestamp. Each stack earns a colored tab. She numbers them with neat patience. Bates, 0001 through 0046. Transfers, receipts, photos, calls. 4 piles, aligned to the table edge. Step 2. Counsel. In a glassed conference room near Bryant Park, Chloe Ramirez reviews the folder like a surgeon checking instruments. Her tone is clipped, clear. 3 moves, Chloe says. Emergency motion to restrain asset dissipation. Notices to any broker or custodian who might touch title, and a preservation letter to lock his devices and cloud accounts. Julia nods once. Chloe slides templates across, initials the margins, and sets a filing clock. Step 3. Secure the ground under her feet. Back at the apartment, Julia pulls the tab, Ref I, Home. Out comes the refinance packet from last year. Deed of trust in her sole name, power of attorney Mark signed during renovations, notarizations with county stamps. She verifies the register number, then emails Chloe to request certified copies and an alert with the county clerk if any listing hits the parcel. Communications protocol follows, no debating by text. Screenshots of everything. Auto-reply that routes any message to counsel. A pre-written one-liner if she must respond. Please contact my attorney. Operations stay calm on the surface. Orders go out on time. A temporary assistant takes the front desk phone. Business and personal costs live in different ledgers. Mark gets nothing obvious to chase. Hardware and doors change. A video doorbell goes online. Keypad codes rotate. An external drive swallows an encrypted mirror of the archive, then slides into the safe deposit box. A second phone, clean, new, carries only banks and counsel. Real estate, sealed tight. Julia calls Marcus, voice even, and follows with a written, do not list, no authorization. Chloe serves a cease and desist to every inbox that could accept a premature listing, brokerage, escrow, title, even the neighborhood newsletter if needed. Fax confirmations print and clip into the binder, cool as receipts. Mini hook. His plan assumes her signature. Her plan locks every door that requires one. This is the quiet tempo common to family revenge stories that land. Not fury, procedure. She prints email headers, staples chain of custody forms, and seals a Tyvek envelope for the safe. A sticky note reads, timeline ready, evidence intact, signatures required. None of them hers, for now, deliberately. By dusk, the prep binder is heavier. Certified copies, county subscriptions, delivery slips, they settle like tile on mortar. Julia presses the spine closed with her palm. The apartment holds its breath as she labels a new tab in block letters, strike. Afternoon leans across New York when the strike folder opens on Julia's table. An email from Marcus pings. Subject line, listing package, owner's signature required. She shifts ref I, home beside the laptop, the refinance packet a neat, deliberate shadow. The phone vibrates. Mark. She taps speaker and sets it down on the folder, voice steady as glass. Sign the papers, he orders. 24 hours. Pack your things. Julia watches the seconds tick on the stove clock. You'll receive documents, she says. Everything will be handled according to law. While he talks, Chloe's name flashes on the screen with a silent banner. Filing's ready. Julia ends the call, replies to Marcus. No authorization to list. Attachments ride the message. Certified refinance in her sole name, the power of attorney he signed during renovations. A minute later, Marcus calls back, tone lowered. So only you can sign, he says. That's correct, Julia answers. Paper rustles. Somewhere, a printer spits out a cancelled task. Chloe moves the outside pieces. Cease and desist letters shipped to brokerage, buyer's counsel, escrow, and title. Each bears the county index number and parcel ID. Fax confirmations slide from the machine like tickets to a show already closed. Julia drops one line to Mark, the legal bait soft and clean. Please direct all real estate communications to counsel. Auto reply routes his follow-ups to Chloe's inbox. No sparring, no leaks. Mini hook. Mark's sale just lost its key, and the key was never his. At the brokerage, the scene plays out with fluorescent fatalism. Marcus narrates over the phone. Mark knocks a knuckle on the counter, jaw tight, words clipped. The listing portal rejects every attempt. No owner signature, no go. Marcus keeps his tone level, repeats policy, ends the call. Chloe files the emergency motion, restraining asset dissipation, duplicate copies to the mortgage holder. On Julia's screen, 3 bullets appear. No sale, no refi, no transfer. A clerk stamps the docket. The order number joins the top margin of strike. Mark's messages arrive in a staccato burst. Game over. Ungrateful. Sign or I'll... Screenshots. Saved. Folder path. Evidence/comms. Time, date, carrier tags. Quiet proof with edges. Data locks tighten. Chloe's preservation letters reach the telecom, cloud provider, and mail host. Devices, backups, and logs are to be held in place. Bates, 0047-0062. Labels march along the right edge like a column at attention. Marcus updates the dashboard on his side, listing suspended, contact restricted to Julia or counsel. He forwards a screenshot for the file. Julia prints it, initials the corner, and holds it into the binder. She closes the laptop. Signs for the fax spool, pen aligned with the form's blue line. Strike returns to the cabinet with a flat, satisfied slide. This is how some family revenge stories turn the hinge, not with fireworks, but with policy, numbers, and a woman refusing to donate her signature to someone else's plan. The phone lights again. Mom Carter, the screen says. Julia lets it ring into the room's measured silence. She taps the prep binder once, a quiet metronome for resolve. The note stays squared to the bill's edge. Nothing signs unless she signs. Evening folds over the apartment. The phone glows, buzzes again. Mom Carter, Aunt Lila, numbers Julia doesn't recognize. She lets the first call roll to voicemail, then answers the second on speaker. Have you thought about what you're doing to our family? The older woman demands. Please direct any property questions to counsel, Julia says. You made him look foolish. The paperwork is clear. She ends the call, saves the log, and tags the recording. On the college crew thread, messages land like gravel. She's taking him for everything. Cold. A lone reply cuts through. County records show it's hers. Julia screenshots and files it under evidence comms. In the elevator, 2 neighbors whisper. Security says he tried to push a listing, one mutters. Marcus told him it's locked, the other answers. At the desk, the guard nods and slides a note. Attempted call to broker. Denied. Time, 5:42 p.m. She pockets the slip. He keeps the lobby calm while cameras log time, faces, and frustrated gestures there. Megan meets her at the cafe downstairs, slides a manila envelope over the table. Printed the texts, she says. Don't feed the fire. Let the documents talk. Julia nods, initials the corner, and tucks the envelope into her tote. Marcus calls at 6:10. Dashboard reads suspended. I emailed a screenshot. Received, Julia replies. She prints, signs receipt, and holds the page into the binder. Online, Mark posts, betrayed by someone I trusted. Comments split. One links the parcel index, another quotes the docket number. Julia copies the URL to her running list and closes the app. Her brother calls. Need anything? Weekend coverage at the apartment, she says. Done. Mini hook. The crowd wants spectacle. Julia offers receipts. A real estate reporter pings Marcus about a condo dispute. Chloe replies through counsel. No comment. Court orders are on file. At Mark's office, an internal memo circulates. No personal use of corporate accounts. A redacted forward reaches Julia's inbox from a sympathetic coworker. She prints, stamps, and files it with the others. This is how certain family revenge stories resist the storm. Wind outside, a ledger inside. The clerk's email arrives near 8. Emergency hearing set for Friday, 9:30 a.m. Julia places the notice on the table, aligns the margins, and reaches for a black jacket. Friday, 9:22 a.m. The steps of the New York Supreme Court shine after a quick rinse. Julia Carter exits a cab in a black jacket, strike binder under her arm. Chloe Ramirez matches her pace toward the revolving door. Security, belts, trays, a nod from the guard. Mark Carter waits past the rope with his attorney, adjusting his tie. He glances over. Julia doesn't flinch. Chloe checks the docket and leads them down the hall. Courtroom Part 32, pale wood, a ticking clock, left table, Julia and Chloe. Right, Mark and counsel. The clerk raises a hand. The judge enters and sits. On the emergency motion, the judge says, seeking temporary restraint and exclusive occupancy. Chloe rises. Good morning, Your Honor. Ownership is singular and documented. Certified refinance records place title solely in Ms. Carter's name. A power of attorney, Mr. Carter executed, a pattern of Friday transfers from the joint account, cease and desist notices acknowledged by brokerage, title, and escrow, and a suspended listing that failed for lack of the owner's signature. She submits a tabbed table of contents, Bates stamped. The judge finds the county index number and nods. Mark's lawyer stands. The apartment was intended as marital. My client sought to liquidate fairly. Where is the owner's signature authorizing a listing? The judge asks. A beat. We did not obtain it. Because you cannot, Chloe says. Counsel, the judge warns, palm down. Proceed with witnesses. Marcus, the broker, takes the stand. Our platform requires the deeded owner's e-signature. No signature, no listing. The account shows suspended. Here are screenshots and the call log showing Mr. Carter's attempt to proceed without authorization. A building guard follows, crisp uniform, small notebook. On Tuesday at 5:42 p.m., Mr. Carter used the lobby phone to contact the brokerage. He raised his voice. I redirected him outside. This is my incident note. The clerk tags it. Chloe introduces messages. These are communications Mr. Carter sent the same evening, pressuring and derogatory. Each bears carrier metadata and timestamps. Pages slide forward like cards in a measured deal. Mini hook. No signature, no transaction. No transaction, no leverage. The judge turns to Julia. Do you intend to sell, refinance, or encumber the property during this litigation? No, Your Honor, Julia says, posture straight, voice calm. I request restraint against dissipation, preservation of data, and temporary exclusive occupancy to operate my business and secure the residence. Understood. The judge returns to the file. Proof of sole title? Exhibit B, Chloe answers. Certified with county stamps. The judge writes. Relief granted. Temporary restraining order. No sale, no refinance, no transfer, no encumbrance without further order. Respondent is enjoined from contacting petitioner directly. Communication must proceed through counsel. Data preservation is ordered for devices, cloud accounts, and telecom records. Petitioner is granted exclusive occupancy pending conference. Mark blurts. She's destroying my credit. His lawyer tugs his sleeve. The judge lifts her eyes. Sir, sit. He swallows and sits. The knot of his tie has slipped left. The clerk stamps the order. Red ink blooms over the docket number. Chloe counts copies and hands one to Julia. Thank you, Your Honor, she says, and sits. On the steps, microphones rise. Ms. Carter, any comment? A reporter calls. Chloe answers. No comment. Orders entered. Julia buttons her jacket, the binder snug to her side, and moves past the cameras. Her phone buzzes. The mortgage servicer confirms receipt of the order. Holds are in place on attempted sale activity. A second vibration. The bank flags prior Friday transfers for review. This is the cadence of certain family revenge stories. A bench, a stamp, limits drawn in plain lines, noise outside, paperwork inside, a woman who signs only what is hers to sign. At the bottom of the steps, Mark's screen lights with an HR email. Administrative leave pending review. He stares at it, mouth half open, as if the letters might rearrange into mercy. Julia turns right, away from the cameras, and does not look back. Behind them, Chloe schedules expedited discovery, subpoenas to banks and carriers, device imaging preserved, a status conference set for 2 weeks. Paper calendars flip, email alerts ping. The path narrows for Mark. It widens for Julia. 2 weeks after the bench stamp, New York tastes like early fall, sharp air, metal railings cold to the hand. At Mark's firm, an HR subject line lands, administrative leave pending review. His badge blinks red at the turnstile. A guard escorts him to the elevator with a cardboard box and a nod that isn't unkind. It disables his email. The internal directory appends one gray word, deactivated. Banks answer next. Prior Friday transfers are held. A compliance note requests documentation. At an electronics counter, the POS terminal chirps and prints declined. He tries a second card, declined. The cashier sets the bag aside, eyes already sliding to the next customer. Housing narrows. Julia holds exclusive occupancy under the order. The condo's fob won't admit him. He drags a wheeled suitcase into an extended stay off 8th, weekly rate, thin towels, a window crowded by the neighboring brick. The phone becomes a stage. Old bar friends stop replying. The college crew thread turns slow, then silent. A coworker sends one private line. Don't message me on company channels. Family heat cools into avoidance. Mom Carter quits calling Julia. Aunt Lila posts a photo of soup and writes about keeping heads down. The unnamed companion unfollows, captions a story. Lesson learned. On the broker's side, Marcus forwards a dashboard capture. Listing suspended. Owner signature required. The timestamp matches the day of the order. He includes a neutral sentence for the file. A bartender in Midtown wipes the counter. Card trouble again? He asks. Mark counts bills, comes up short, folds the tab in half, and leaves it anyway. Outside, drizzle sets the street to glass. Mini hook. When numbers thin, leverage vanishes. When leverage vanishes, so do witnesses. Notices stack up like weather. Late fees, an overdraft warning, a penalty for a failed ACH. A parking ticket curls on his windshield. He had stopped too long outside a brokerage entrance. Across the river, lights rise in Julia's studio. The calendar tiles are full. A courier loads boxes with her logo. He watches the city keep moving forward. In family revenge stories that refuse melodrama, the fall announces itself quietly, receipts, gaps, and rooms that no longer open. Morning opens on the studio with a rattle of the roll-up door. New York is bright, crisp. The calendar squares are full. Julia Carter ties a black apron, checks the board, order codes in neat lines, courier routes, signatures required, and picks up a silver burnisher that fits her palm like a promise. Sun angles across the bench, laying bright grid lines over rulers and files. The apartment that once held arguments now hums like a workshop. Track lights click on. The old desk where Mark kept spreadsheets is a packing station labeled Fulfillment. Drawer dividers hold tissue, scales, and barcode stickers. A label maker purrs. Boxes stamp with her logo, stacked in columns. 2 assistants arrive at 9. Safety, then sequence, Julia says. She points to a wall of SOPs, laminated and color-coded. Polisher on that cart, ultrasonic here. QA trays numbered, left to right. Business ledger, separate from personal. They nod and move, and the room takes rhythm. Buff, rinse, wrap. A courier buzzes. She signs for supplies, then hands out a sealed crate. First rollout. The driver grins. Congratulations. The manifest shows a chain of boutiques uptown, midtown, downtown. Julia photographs the handoff, initials the page, and slides the copy into a binder indexed Discovery. Mid-hook. The room once echoed with dismissal. Now machines sing and labels print in time. The email chime lifts. A fashion magazine confirms a feature, profile and process shots. Attached, a proof. Julia leaning over a torch, sparks like tiny constellations. Another email. A buyer requests a custom line for a gala. She replies with lead times, care instructions, and a return policy pinned on her site. Afternoon brings a workshop. Tables, tools laid in mirrored pairs. 8 women tie aprons, laugh, and lean close while Julia demonstrates a solder seam and patient circles of polishing. I never thought I could make anything, one admits. You're making plenty, Julia answers, adjusting the flame and stepping aside so the student's hands take the frame. At dusk, the dining room hosts a circle of women business owners. Tea steam rises, notebooks open. They trade supplier lists, tax deadlines, saves that keep companies alive. Julia shares a vendor checklist, strict, separate accounts, recorded receipts, written scopes. Pens move, shoulders ease. Outside, the neighborhood board displays a flyer. Makers Friday, artisans welcome. A neighbor pauses at the glass. Your studio looks beautiful, he says. Julia thanks him and returns to the bench. She slides on a silver ring engraved, Trust your strength. She doesn't pose. She solders a bezel, taps a prong, and checks the sit of a stone under a loop. The flame whispers. Chloe's text arrives. Discovery date set, preservation confirmed. Julia signs acknowledgement, then files the notice behind the tab that keeps every step visible and calm. In family revenge stories that matter, rebuilding is quieter than rage. It sounds like payroll posted, shipments scanned, students clapping at a finished shine, invoices reconcile nightly, margins hold, systems breathe. 1 month passes in pages and parcels. Couriers come and go. Across the avenue, a suitcase drags through rain. Inside, Julia signs a quarterly reorder, hands steady, eyes forward. 3 months later, New York turns early winter blue. Dusk comes fast, breath shows. Inside the studio, the roll printer chatters through a quarterly reorder while a courier scans cartons with Julia Carter's logo. On the wall, a framed magazine profile hangs straight. Workshop dates read full. The dashboard shows on-time shipments, returns, margins intact, payroll posts. A quarterly tax voucher tears from its perforation and slides into a stamped envelope. Across town, Mark Carter exits an interview with a blank business card and an email. We appreciate your time. The extended stay front desk asks for another week's deposit. At a pharmacy, his card stutters. The reader flashes declined. He counts bills, sighs, leaves the cough drops behind. Neighbors outside Julia's building pause to watch the lighted bench. Looks good in there, one says. A boutique buyer signs for a crate and points to the photo on the wall. Saw your feature. Julia nods, initials the manifest, and moves the next stack to the scale. Mini hook. Hold a course long enough and distance makes itself. Online, A legal blog recaps a redacted TRO. On a real estate forum, someone writes, "No owner signature, no sale. Basic." The post links the public parcel index. The thread is short, then done. At a midtown bar, the bartender folds a check. "Card's not going," he murmurs. Mark pats pockets, collects coins, and squares the bill's edge before leaving. A parking ticket curls under his wiper. Drizzle freckles the windshield. Text from Chloe. Discovery on schedule, next status conference set. Reply from Julia. Received. She checks a shipment map, pins a new vendor to her board, and snaps a quick photo of 8 students holding bright pendants. A thank you message pings her phone minutes later. This is the quiet arithmetic of family revenge stories. Calendars met, contracts renewed, doors closing without argument. Night settles softly. Julia locks the studio and steps into the hall. On her table, a utility bill lies under protective plastic, the ugly scrawl now a keepsake of a hinge turning the right way. Night has settled over New York, winter dark and glassy. The studio door clicks shut. The key turns once. On the bench inside, beneath a thin sleeve of plastic, a utility bill lies squared to the edge, its angry scrawl a quiet relic of a hinge that turned. Julia hangs her apron, smooths a sleeve, and touches the silver ring engraved, "Trust your strength." One breath, even. The city hums through the windows like a distant train. Her phone lights with a short email from Chloe. Status conference confirmed. Preservation orders intact. Julia nods to no one, files the notice under discovery, and lets the screen go black. Procedure continues, steady as a drip line. Across the street, a courier truck noses from the curb, taillights rising like commas. Somewhere farther downtown, a bus mirror reflects a worn coat passing through rain. The frame does not linger. It records. Imposed order has turned doubt into proof. Process has turned emotion into result. This was never about theatrics. It was about signatures, stamps, and the arithmetic of delivery deadlines met. In family revenge stories worth keeping, victory rarely shouts. It signs where it must, refuses where it should, and leaves the rest to calendars and ledgers. The crowd keeps its noise, the record keeps the truth. She locks the cabinet, strike, discovery, reefy home, tabs aligned like spine and ribs. The fluorescent buzz fades. Over the bench, a last strip of light crosses the plastic sleeve and dims. Julia draws the curtain, looks out over the city, and does not perform a smile. She stands, shoulders level, owning the room that used to shrink around her. A life, properly inventoried,